Ah, the Nintendo DS. The console which started looking out like this is the second best selling console of all time and has sold over 150 million copies since its release back in 2004, and I'm so glad it did. The Nintendo DS was one of the first handheld consoles that I owned when I was younger, right after the Game Boy Advanced. The first time I got my hands on one of these was with the DS Lite, and in all honesty, I'm kinda glad. The DS Lite is probably how most people remember it looking anyway. The DS appealed to absolutely everyone, from your kids to your grandma, with its wide variety of games. I mean hell, my mum had one. She loved playing the smash hit dogs. The DS was first brought up in 2003, being described as a new console with games that anyone could enjoy. A year after that, it was announced to have dual screens, which, although it seems normal today, was unusual for the time. They also mentioned how it was not a successor to the Game Boy Advance, despite the fact that the games were backwards compatible with it. Everyone knows that this was a blatant lie and was just something they said in case the DS failed. It was a smart decision though, as the DS back in the early 2000s was a huge risk, especially when they had their first actual competition with Sony's PSP.
Well, the wait is over. This is Nintendo DS.
Reggie whipped out the DS during their conference at the 2004 E3, giving everyone at the conference their first look at the console. It really wasn't the best looking console ever, and I'm glad I didn't get one right away. Mainly because I was 2. Anyway, they made up for it by showcasing Metroid Prime, Super Mario 64, wireless multiplayer and its touchscreen capabilities. Nintendo really did show off the balls that this device had in the reveal, and needless to say, a lot of people were hyped, despite it looking like it was designed in a Nintendo worker's worst nightmare. Later on, they also previewed some upcoming games which included smash hits such as Animal Crossing, Mario Kart, New Super Mario Bros, and my all-time favourite, Deal or No Deal. It officially launched on the 11th of March 2005 for £99 in Europe, a full 4 months after it launched in North America. The layout of the DS was overall great, but some features such as the stylus placement and overall look got better over time. The popularity of the DS had not peaked at first, so when you saw someone with this bulky design, you knew they had owned it for a while, or they're criminally insane. With its touchscreen capabilities, it was the first handheld to have a main screen along with apps on the home screen as well. It allowed you to check the date, time and play with others near you. However, none of these compared to the best new feature. The feature which allowed you to instantly message people a whole 6 feet away from you. Yes, I'm talking about the almighty Picto Chat. It was actually a heap of fun. You could draw, send messages and... well, you could draw. Despite it seeming pointless, using PictoChat with your friends or family for 5 minutes to send each other badly drawn bowls of fruit was enjoyable. It did baffle me that it never got an online feature, and it was also horrendous to use without a stylus, but the original DS would not have been the same without it. Luckily, fans didn't have to wait too long for a better, more slick and let's face it, more iconic DS design. The release of the Nintendo DS Lite in July 2006 was the first of the many redesigns. Here is where the popularity really increased, as it pandered more towards the casuals and not just Nintendo fans. This is the design which older relatives got their hands on, and hey, I don't blame them. The DS Lite madly improved almost every aspect of the previous DS design. It got slimmer, lighter and a lot easier to handle. The stylus placement changed to a more reasonable position, the screen got better backlighting and even more brightness settings. Everything felt so much nicer. Like I said before, I was happy with this being the first DS design that I got my hands on. The only feature I didn't really enjoy was how the GBA game stuck out a bit. It sometimes made the console feel uneven, especially when you're a child. Overall though, this design was great. They really didn't need to redesign. The DSi released on the 1st of November 2008 in Japan and worldwide a few months later for £150. Yeah, it didn't need to come out so soon, but it was still a fairly good upgrade. the main new features being the DSi menu and the addition of great cameras. The menu included an online shop which sold DSiWare games. You could get a fair amount from the shop, but it did close down back in 2017. The camera also opened up a lot of editing softwares to be included, and you best believe that I spent hours taking photos and editing myself to look as stupid as possible. Looking back, these were not funny at all, but 10-year-old me found them hilarious. You could also change your voice using the sound app, but I didn't even realise this existed back then. A big pushback for the DSi was the removal of GBA games. It was no longer possible to play GBA games on the DS, and they didn't even add a virtual console to make up for it. This did baffle me, and was one of the reasons why I never traded in my first DS. I just ended up buying a DSi as well. A year later, they tried to clean up my small childhood savings again with the release of the DSi XL. It is exactly what the name says. It's a DSi, right? But it's bigger. This variant was aimed towards the more hardcore fans and people who wanted the new cool themes. It also pandered towards old people with the bigger screens. Due to it being bigger, it did have a longer battery life, and it came along with a newly styled stylus which did at least look nicer to me. Well, there you have it, there's all the DS models. If you want to use one today, go ahead, they still are a lot of fun. Just for the love of God, only go for the DS Lite and above. You could also just get a 3DS which you can play DS games on anyway. The console itself was great, but what really sold me on it was the wide variety of games. From Nintendo's releases to third-party publishers, the library of games was endless. There really was something for everyone, no matter your age. Now I have a lot of classics that I wanted to go over, so let me know what your favourite game or franchise was in the comments below. By far my favourite series to be released has to be the Pokemon franchise. 5 main series titles were released from 2006 to 2012, starting with Diamond and Pearl and ending with Black and White version 2. The first main series game that I played on DS was HeartGold, and man was that the best Pokemon game I have ever played. This remake of one of the originals looked stunning for the time. From the graphics to the music to Pokemon following right behind you, I loved every aspect of the game. Being fairly young and not knowing a lot about the franchise, my mind was absolutely blown when I discovered there was a whole new region to explore. This is what single-handedly made me play every other game that has been released since, and even go back and play the originals. I never really got into the spin-off games. Besides playing Mystery Dungeon a couple of times, they didn't appeal to me that much. Pokemon may have been my favourite series, but the Mario games were where I spent most of my time. Nothing compared to the amount of hours I put into all these games. If you had a DS, then you had at least one game featuring the Red Plumber himself. New Super Mario Bros. Was the best selling game on DS, and it almost single-handedly carried the console in 2006. As it was the first original Mario game to be released in years, it garnered a lot of hype around it and sold over 30 million copies. Although the phrase New Super Mario Bros. Has lost some of its meaning due to oversaturation, it is still the first game that many think of when they talk about the DS. Even then, there were still other huge big hitters such as Mario Kart, Super Mario 64, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, Mario Party, Yoshi's Island. I could literally go on for a whole 4 more seconds talking about all the Mario games released on DS. My favourite out of all of these by far has to be Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. I'd never played a Mario RPG game up until this point, and it took me by surprise. I loved taking control of these characters in a way which was new to me, and it was one of the few times a Mario game actually challenged me. They don't hold up that well to today's standards, but it is a great place to start if you're looking for a new take on the franchise. There were also releases for other big game series which I had never really played or got into. The Legend of Zelda, Animal Crossing, Dragon Quest, Professor Layton, just to name a few. I also played many of the one-off games and the third-party titles due to the sheer amount of them. GTA Chinatown Wars was one of them. You really wouldn't have expected Rockstar of all people to make a GTA game on DS, but when you think about it, the originals were very similar to this. The art style was great and I had a blast playing a game which was way out of my age range. Draw to Life was a new style of game which was fun to me. It is one of those games which only would have worked on a touchscreen, but they'd done a great job with it. Plants vs Zombies, Call of Duty, Lego Star Wars, hell, I remember playing a Club Penguin game on the system. There were also a few games which, probably shouldn't mention I played, one of them being Nintendogs. I love Nintendogs, and so did you. I did not touch any of the touch generation games, but looking back I can see why so many of them were made. Like I previously mentioned, this system appealed to all ages, and these were the games that they played. These included mostly puzzle games that would have probably entertained them for a lifetime, since they didn't have long left. From Big Brain Academy to Personal Trainer Walk-In to Crosswords DS. It gave them a place to play everything they wanted all on one device. However, none of these were as popular as Brain Age, which was the 4th best selling DS game of all time. I have nothing against these games, as I genuinely saw people like my mum enjoy playing them, finding out her brain age and trying to beat her previous score. If it kept anyone entertained, then I'm happy for you. It's just not the sort of game that I would have chosen to play for fun. Especially when I was a younger kid who saw it as extra homework. I'm gonna stop now. If I don't, I'll just keep going on and on. There's still so many fantastic games which I haven't mentioned, and there are some series which I'd like to talk about in more detail, however, that's for another time. Let me know in the comments below about your experiences with the Nintendo DS and the games that you played the most. It really was a game changer for the gaming industry and is, in my opinion, one of the most recognisable gaming consoles out there. I loved this device when I was younger, and with the way gaming looks to be progressing, I don't think we'll ever see anything like the DS ever again. Thanks for watching. I hope you like this new style of video, and I'm trying to improve more and more with each upload. If you did enjoy, be sure to subscribe, leave a like and turn on that bell notifications for the next upload. For now, I'm out. I'll see you all next time.